One question that I've been getting every single Twitch and YouTube livestream is, Josh, who should I be pulling for? Is YESHUNGUANG worth it? What about the reruns? Who's worth it over another? And better yet, should I be saving for the Angels of Delusion and further returning characters just around the corner? Although I do have my pool evaluation guide here, I wanted to approach this question specifically to talk about how I would be approaching reruns and the newer characters moving into 2.6 and excuse me, something got caught my throat. 2.7 and help you all to hopefully build your eye for characters and banners moving forward. So firstly, let's start with our background and context. I'll be grading and rating characters and their values based off of if I were an F2P or a budget player that can't get every single character. If you've never seen my channel or my streams, you might not know that I have every single character in the game. And I just hope that you guys genuinely see that I'm not trying to flex. What having every unit in the game allows me to do is to get a much more truer picture of their value, not as comic units, but yo, who's writing the script today? I mean, as holistic characters to own and their value amongst the entire cast. So out of the many characters that I rank as far as value, here is a quick tier list of my personal rankings of value. Now, I wanted to pull this straight up here versus going through each, because we are going to do that within the context of the reruns and newer characters. But what this gives us is a nice chart to put into the context of what I deem valuable, and it's quite heavily weighed towards horizontal coverage. Now, for those who aren't too gacha term savvy, there are two types of investments we can make. Jeez, I'm making it sound like we're talking about stonks here. But yes, when it comes to investing your hard-earned polychromes and pulls, there are two ways to do it. Either one through horizontal investment, which focuses primarily on coverage of the field, or two, vertical investments, which are talking about how you can invest into those individual characters, like with Mindscape's signature engines, or even now with the new enhancement system for the reworked characters. As a disclaimer, of course, it's important to pull for your waifus, husbandos, oshis, and everybody in between. But let's not forget that this game rewards pulling and divesting into different characters, teams, archetypes, and play styles. So let's finally start to take all of this into consideration with our very first question: is YESHUNGUANG actually worth her weight? As the heavy lifter of the 2.5 patch, the Void Hunter is no stranger to her role and title, with amazing coverage of the field, with her elements of honed edge. Bro, they made a whole subclass of element just for unlimited blade works. Honestly, that's pretty baller. With this, she's able to be an attacker unit that also functions like a rupture character, just without the 100% defense shred, yet all the tools that an attacker unit has at their disposal, like a killer snow globe and a free Labubu. With so many things lined up for you, the devs are literally holding up a sign that says pull YESHUNGUANG. But, does this mean she truly is worth her weight in polychromes? If we look across Zenless, the tides of the meta shift quickly, and with classes and elements in and out of the rotation as fast as you can say, and now when mata, you might find the physical element that she is attuned to slightly out of favor, as currently there are shield buffs, physical weak enemies, and a plethora of leniencies towards the physical typing and to her specific play style. But what happens outside of that? How can we be sure that she's able to stand the test of time? Well, the answer to that question is we actually don't know 100%, but that doesn't mean we don't already have a great idea. Follow along here. With the current content, we are seeing rupture characters run the offense, and they're doing it in a very convincing fashion. Yes, I understand that 9 stars is 9 stars, but there are levels to characters and their performances, and it's clear that the rupture units, pound for pound, are doing much better than the average attackers. Yet, with YESHUNGUANG, she can actually do it all. As we mentioned before, she can even shred Miasma 50% faster with her honed edge ability, let alone talk about how she's so consistent of a DPS, as her Etherville can basically pop up a domain expansion on every ult you get. Yasmin Fiend, Hunter, a Priest, Primordial Nightmare, and even some older bosses. She can do it all. So with her being able to cover attack-oriented content, Miasma and Rupture content, which is 75 to 90% of the current endgame content, it's very easy to say that from the bottom beginner level all the way to the top. They've paved the road for our little Uma Musume to perform well at all points of the game. Yet what happens when we rotate out of Miasma? Well, with her playstyle being so consistent within itself, it's hard to see her drastically falling off unless the content strictly goes against attackers and physical, as there aren't too many drawbacks to the very purest attacker class. Unlike how anomalies were bounced out the club by getting their build-up requirements raised, and even many bosses being non-freezable. Don't worry, Miyabi. Your time will come once again. But I create this moment of foreshadowing very simply because I expect us to rotate back into anomaly-oriented content in the very near future. And that's all thanks to... Yes, the Angels of Delusion are simply so adorable, yet also a sign of a small meta shift back towards Anomaly, as our main gal, Arya, is going to be appearing as an Ether Anomaly unit. Now, whether she's an on-field, what I call a driver, Anomaly unit, or she's a sub-DPS or passenger unit is yet to be fully confirmed. But at this point, it's easy to say that the Ether content and Anomaly content will be on the rise soon. So Josh, to get ready for Anomaly content, should we start to check out some of the Anomaly units available in the current patch? Well, it doesn't hurt, so let's do a little bit of window shopping. Currently, with not only the main banners and premium limited triple rerun banners, we also have a new spending event that allows us to get 2 character chips to redeem in the new shop for a standard or old limited character of our choice. As far as value goes, I'd love to give a huge nod to Soldier 11, who's been wonderful with her new rework, both in strong but not overpowered damage and an improved feel of kit. Yet the 2 highlights have to be Bernice and Jane Doe, both of whom are strong in their own rights and have 2 different reasons to pull for them. So the question is, should we go for Jane Doe or Bernice White? Well, to answer that, let's take a look at what they have to offer. One is a rat with the skin, the other just got a nice rework to her kit. But even more so than that, we have one that's an on-field Anomaly driver and another being a fiery passenger princess, with her afterburns doing work while she's off-field. These 2 different playstyles and usages within Anomaly teams are both important, but it's up to you on which role you need to fill. So let's take a look at your box. If you have the Miyabis, Alice, Pipers, or even Yanagis, consider grabbing Bernice, as those mentioned above were more on-field options. Yet, if you really only have Bernice and Vivian, potentially Yanagi too, might as well pick up someone who can deal quick and bursty on-field anomaly damage in Jane Doe. And of course, if you are a bit of a spender, I suggest to you the M2 Alice and Jane Doe pairing, which, since the spending event and rerun banners are here, it's theoretical that you can get M2 of each via their respective means this patch alone, which is quite the bit of spending, so I'm not suggesting this to the majority of folk. But it's an available option, and the high investment monophysical team has proven its worth because it's been able to shred most, if not all, that opposes it because of their way to bounce off each other's buffs. It's amazingly fun. Yet, talk about spending, did you know that if you're going to be topping up on Zenless or any other gacha games, that you could be doing it for a discount? Roll the ad. Hey folks, it's Post of Josh here to tell you about the sponsor of this video, LD Shop. Now, LD Shop has been gracious enough to provide us with some fun perks while we top up to 35% off of our favorite games. Almost any mobile game you play can be found here with bundles for bundles. Wait, that's kinda genius. And off of your first purchase, LD Shop wants to make you a customer for your gacha stay, so they're giving you a top up starting at 22%. All you need to do is take your ID, region, and enter your payment method, which they have it all, and boom. Yeah, you can't miss out on even more savings because I have an additional 15% off code if you use the link below with an extra 5% coupon for later. Take a look at the internet passes. They are $3.60 versus your regular $5. That money adds up, folks. Well, make sure to drop by LD Shop by clicking the link in the description for exclusive perks and discounts. And thank you to LD Shop for sponsoring this video. But back to the task at hand, now that we've compared a few of the Anomaly characters and put them into their 2 big buckets, where does Arya sit? Well, I can't say for sure, but I won't say that she's not an on-field character. But with how she might be proposed to work, I can easily see her actually pairing with most, if not all, of the Anomaly units to some capacity. And that's honestly the beauty of the Anomaly class, being able to mix and match to create beautiful disorder reactions. Yet not only do I have to focus on Arya alone, but there is another angel coming straight to us with 2.6, Shinatsu, or Suna as she's known in English. So Josh, should I be saving for Suna to pair with Angels of Delusion, or should I just go more into Zhao? Suna is slated to be a physical support, and now with how supports are held to a high pedestal, G2 will be who many folk will be looking for, whether she falls into either the super niche category, like how Lucia is mainly just a rupture buffer and for that class only, or a more broader scope like Astro Yao for the generalist or Yuza for anomalies, being sent in as a potential anomaly buffer or even a physical buffer at that has some fun implications. And if those are the archetypes your box already has, I think it's fair to say that you'll be able to use Suna to her maximum potential. And looking at our value tier list, it's very clear how I feel about supports. So in all honesty, since Zhao, who is the most recent support type character around, yes, I understand she's a defense character, but let's be honest, the attack and damage buffs don't lie. She is a support. The Labubu already being free and working with a budget W engine option like the original Transmorpher allows you to be very, and I mean very, budget with how you operate with her, allowing for the focus to shift over to the premium support, which again, horizontal investment with both damage and support options for your squads will pay dividends, as you can cover more content and thus have a much easier time to tackle a broader scope of things. Thus, with my general suggestion, whether it's an Anomaly DPS or a support, you might want to look towards the Angels of Delusion to help you for coverage and stronger agents in their primes versus some of the older units. But don't get me wrong, Zambi and Alice still hold up their ends of the bargain, and depending on how the tides shift, you can very well see them do well in content. However, if you are a much greener or newer player, not having the units paired in release with these, like how Zambi would appreciate the Oval Squad units, or how Alice would very much like a Yuza by her side, it's a bit tougher of a suggestion without knowing the future reruns. See how I segued us there? Yeah? So now let's discuss Joshua. You mainly have been talking about the 2.5 units and a bit about the Angels. What can I expect with the rest of 2.6 and 2.7 going into the new seasonal patch? Well, because 2.5 was generally a New Year's patch, we saw quite the generous gifts and different various banners and new systems introduced to help get us a bunch of characters. Going back to the regular formula though, we generally tend to see 4 limited banners in an entire patch, 2 on each side of the update. Then with 2 whole patches in 0.6 and 0.7, we are looking at 8 more slots of characters in total, 3 of which whom are going to be our new Angels of Delusion. So where does that leave the last 5? Well, if the math is mathing, there are only 4 to 6 general choices we have before we head back into the multi-rerun territory. So let's introduce to you the cast of remaining characters that need their first reruns, starting with our fan favorite, YESHUNG. Many folk in Twitch have been clamoring for a YESHUNG rerun, not even just for her alone, but for amazing and versatile W engine that can be slotted into almost any Rupture character and become their secondary pivot option. YESHUNG being introduced so early as the pinnacle of Rupture honestly helped out quite a few players who were drawn in by the new season. And even to this day, she still remains as one of the most meta-relevant damage dealers in the game, as being one of the best performing characters in the end game, and doing so for quite the stretch. YESHUNG definitely becomes a top priority in terms of budget pickups, and even as a slightly higher investment choice when it comes to picking up her W engine option, or even a few mindscapes. Yet it's perfectly fine to even just grab one copy of her, as if you started the game or recently played through the 2.5 patch, you'd have noticed that you picked up one of her stronger W engine options for Ruptures for free in the Cauldron of Clarity, the event-exclusive W engine. Other CCs, and myself included, can suggest to many to use this as your budget engine option for your Void Hunter leveled investigator, as you try to balance the spending on reruns and new banners, because that's just how relevant she is in the Rupture class. Versatile with her application, very oppressive with her many forms of offense, and can make use of a plethora of teammates to find great success. Then let's head over to another S tier suggestion, and that's our sneaky raccoon girl, Yuzuha. Now, Yuzuha being in the big three is no easy feat. As the premier Anomaly support, she has so much on her shoulders as arguably the only dedicated option outside of, say, Seth, Rina, or a pivoting Nicole. And as of 2.1, the general requirement of Anomaly buildup for enemies has been raised, meaning it's now harder to get attribute anomalies in the modern day. But to be honest, it's not by too much. Yet this does help to promote the crafted solution, a juggernaut of attack, damage bonus, disorder bonus, and some build-up bonuses to boot. Grabbing Yuzuha not only for a secondary option for Arya, but a swell slot in for Alice Disorder comps, Miyabi Disorder and Mono Ice, Mono Electric Squads, and even the occasional pivot to attack teams. Just because she can be a generous attack buffer, you'll find Yuzuha covering quite the amount of field. Outside of Rupture Agents and in the ever-shifting game, you'll want supports everywhere. Next are a few smaller shoo-ins like Orpheus Magus, who is pioneering the double attacker comp with Seed, who for all intents and purposes is quite the strong candidate for beginner's first character, as she compared well with the plethora of available early game attacker units like Billy, Corrin, and Nekomata, to be able to create a viable team to blast through most of the game and even perform an okay in the end game. Then with 4 already, we come to the slightly earlier reruns of Yidhari and Lucia, which I can feel that Lucia might just slide in out of nowhere simply for the fact of just wanting to slot her late in 2.7. But that's just my gut feeling. And then let's look at the reruns. We have characters like Juyen, Qingyi, and Lighter, and who the latter 2 stunners can still punch in the heavyweight division. Juyen needed a bit of help, which if I were to be looking at a new batch of rework characters, Juyen could be next. Yet, I have to apologize to Haramaza fans. My suggestion is that he'll move into the standard banner or will be available as a character pickup come 3.0. If you'd like a video of my overall predictions going into the new 3.0 season amongst story, combat, characters, and potential new gimmicks, let me know by liking the video right now. And let me know in the comments what type of things you guys would like to see in a new Zenless Zone Zero season. Finally, to wrap up all of this in a neat bow, let's now take a look at my new value tier list with specifically the characters inclusive of their banner systems that tax in their signature W engines, with the majority of my focus on picking up the new faction on the block and a small handful of powerful and time-tested S ranks that help cover the field and give you the best chance to approach endgame with confidence. And that will conclude my ZZZ latter half 2.x poll predictions and suggestions guide for the rest of this season. Let me know down in the comments who you guys will be looking forward to pulling in the next 3 to 4 months, as we still have quite a bit of time before we head into a new seasonal patch. And who knows, honestly, at this timetable, we might even be sneaking in a 2.8. But with that, I'll leave you to continue to grind out your polychromes and pulls in the current 2.5 version. Make sure to also check out our polychrome farming guide for 2.5 with older and newer content if you haven't already. My name is Josh. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Latane.